has it just become a commercial property?
Merely a marketing gimmick. Honor the women who have been in the battlefield.
I feel a little offended because you called it a marketing gimmick.
Every celebration has become commercialized, and Sri Lanka is not second to that.
You need a lot of effort.
Do you undermine the female colleague?
Gender bias in job roles is a reality. You can't jump out of the plane in the middle of it until you reach the destination.
Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of JXG Spotlight. I'm your host, Gamika De Silva. Today, you may see my studio is vibrant today, full of color, because I'll be accompanied with two fantastic, exciting ladies for today's discussion. Why we are picking up this topic today, it's very, very important in the sense that the entire world is celebrating International Women's Day. So we are going to deep dive into this topic about different angles, what we think, and deliberate on many points that is applicable for corporates as well as for the society. So to introduce my two speakers, both of them are very close friends of mine at work, and I'll take this formal introduction. First of all, let me introduce Wasanthi Stephen, who is the Group Chief HR Officer at Janashakti Group. Wasanthi accounts for over 25 years of experience in the fields of legal as well as in HR. She has experience over different industries: telco, hospitality, insurance, investment banking, as well as finance. Her experience beyond JXG goes into Sri Lanka Telecom, John Keys Holdings, as well as Shangri-La. Wasanthi is also an attorney at law. I think her experience on this area will also come in handy when we discuss this topic. She is not only an HR professional, but she has also won different medals or accolades in terms of swimming, as well as her contribution to HR from a global arena. She is an old girl of Museus College, Colombo, as well as have represented Sri Lanka in swimming at South Asian Games and won championships at John Keys Holdings at the group level. Vasanthi, welcome to JXG Spotlight.
Thank you, Gamika, for that lovely introduction.
And my next speaker is Harshanee Deshapriya. Harshanee is the Group Chief Legal Officer at Janashakti Group. She is an attorney at law by profession. She accounts for over 17 years in experience on corporate law, commercial law, arbitration and litigation, etc. The list goes on, but I kept it very, summarized version in terms of introducing Harshanee. She has won the gold medal for the best all-round student. That shows her caliber not only in sports, drama, etc., and also from the studies side of it at her alma mater, Girls High School, Kandy. Harshanee, welcome to JXG Spotlight.
Thank you, Gamika.
Ladies, thank you for brightening up our studio, and the spotlight is on this topic today. So we are moving into International Women's Day. The history goes into 1909 when it all started in the world. I think that was in February before it became officially March 8th to be celebrated. And it has evolved over the years. And today it's been celebrated across different walks of society, at corporates, at government level, policy level, etc. So we are going to deep dive into this topic and ask your perspective, because I think this topic is, a deeper topic. I will try to cover as much as possible within the time frame we have got. So, Vasanthi, I'll start with you. International Women's Day has been celebrated, as I mentioned. My point of view, we have Mother's Day, Father's Day, International Women's Day, all that. Has it just become a commercial property, or is there meaning behind it?
Gamika, it's a very pertinent question. I would say yes and no, both, because certain approaches are really correct in the way that they do it, and certain, I think it's just merely a marketing gimmick. I think International Women's Day goes beyond celebrations. It is something that we need to appreciate the effort done all these years to give the rights of the women in terms of, let's say, pay gaps, the gender violence that they have, underpinned leadership roles that they get in corporates, and the lack of education. So there are concerns that certain women in certain parts of the globe facing, and I think we need to recognize the effort that we are approaching to combat this, and then the work that needs to be done. That is what I think for International Women's Day that we need to celebrate. And we need to honor the women who have been in the battlefield to give this independence to certain women who don't have these rights. In terms of really, giving them that encouragement and getting the other women to rally around to help the rest of the communities to bring about this equality. I think that's what Women's Day should be. I think we are now having high teas and roses and cakes and cupcakes being given. I think that's
Much more
really,
beyond that.
it's much more beyond that. You need to really fight for the ones who don't have that freedom to come out and really, excel in whatever they are good at.
Absolutely. Wasanthi, I feel a little offended because you called it a marketing gimmick, so maybe subject to that. I was listening to Michelle Obama the other day, her speech, I think last year, or year before, if I'm not mistaken, about education, how these young females should be educated, and that gives them the empowerment in the world. Harshanee, I'll turn to you on that same question. What is your opinion? I mean, especially you're representing the legal background with especially.
Yes, Gamika, in response to your first question, have you ever thought whether there are aspects in life which have not been commercialized? It's a fact of life,
Yeah.
you see. Every significant day, every celebration has become commercialized nowadays. This is not indifferent to International Women's Day. Large organizations, brands take this opportunity to launch their female-oriented products, at the same time promote their commitment towards gender equality. However, this raises reasonable suspicions as to whether they are genuinely committed to gender equality.
That's true.
Yeah. So, however, despite the commercialization aspect exists, I think, personally, I think, Gamika, this does not negate the significance of International Women's Day. Why I say so? Because International Women's Day remains deeply rooted to activism, advocacy, and awareness in respect of women's rights as well as gender equality.
Yeah.
So it is also a day to recognize the progress made in the fight for women's rights. On the other hand, it's a powerful reminder on the struggles encountered by women. The struggles could be violence against women, unequal pay, then again access to education, so on and so forth. That again with a view to socio-economic change. So in that sense, I think all in all, International Women's Day adds so much of value in protection of women's rights as well as gender equality. To add to what Wasanthi just mentioned, and you also, on celebration, you see some part of the world, like Russia, China, they celebrate International Women's Day in mass scale. They share flowers, chocolates, kisses, and Sri Lanka is not second to that these days, you see. There only the commercialization aspect creeps in.
Right.
However, the challenge is the commercialization aspect shall not outweigh the significance of International Women's Day.
Absolutely. I think it's a powerful reminder about entire thing that you mentioned about the struggles to the equality, every aspect that we spoke about. This having this special day is a powerful reminder to the entire world, to the society, to the system. Because if you look at some of the movies that we watch, it shows how male domination is like, pushing down the female rights for education, domestic violence, etc. If you look at it. So with that, if you move into 2025 theme, Women's Day this year's theme is Accelerate Action, especially looking at accelerate progress towards gender equality. So having given some thought to it, how does it actually happen in an organization? Does it take place consciously, or is it as a practice, or do you need to make an effort to give that equality? Maybe I'll start with Harshanee on that one and then come to Wasanthi. How does it happen you have been in different organizations and, we know the culture at Janashakti Group, but you can elaborate based on your experience as well.
So as we all know, this year, Women's Day theme is 2025, Accelerate Action Towards Gender Equality. Based on my experience, Gamika, when it comes to organizational context, it does not happen on its own.
Right.
There should be conscious effort to be made and culture to be created, which fosters inclusivity as well as fairness. So how can this be achieved by an organization? I think in three simple pillars. One is conscious leadership. Secondly,
Absolutely.
breaking systematic barriers. And thirdly, measuring the effectiveness of your own organization action plan. So if we move back to conscious leadership, policies, procedures, processes should be created by organization to include gender equality within the company.
Sure.
That could be either, let's see, women's part. If you see less participation in women in higher management, organization should trace that and train them and mentor them to strive to the next level. At the same time, some of the procedures, Vasanthi would be at a better position to explain that when it comes to recruitment, HR policies, where you go for neutralized job roles, likewise, and to eliminate biases, that you train your own staff in recruitment. Such activities can be done by way of an action plan.
Absolutely.
If you move on to breaking systematic barriers would be you can conduct pay equity audits.
Right.
Then again, zero tolerance to sexual harassment. Flexible working culture, that of course it's readily available in all the organizations nowadays. So these factors can be integrated in organizational plan to create gender equality within an organization. So how you see the effectiveness of this? Measurement should be done, so either by way of survey or feedback to be obtained. Then of course you can feel the culture, how organizational culture has perceived this. Then only metrics can be identified and the progression
measure.
can be made based on that.
Absolutely.
So I think that would be the action plan, if at all, in my understanding.
Sure. I think three important points Harshanee mentioned on the leadership, the systematic, the entire system supporting it, and also the measurables. What is your experience on gender equality? And as a group chief HR officer, how do you drive this agenda across the group?
I agree with what Harshanee said, Kamika. You need a lot of effort. It won't happen automatically to make sure that you have the gender equality that is needed in an organization. Apart from what Harshanee said, I would say unconscious bias, which is something that we all battle with when it comes to recruitment, compensation decisions that we take, promotions, and even career plans. We have this unconscious bias that we battle with on a day-to-day basis in an organization. So to avoid that, I think we need to give very rigorous training to the leadership and to the second in lines, the managers, supervisors who are handling these parts in the organization, how to avoid that. And the other thing, the work-life balance. Now, we are talking about International Women's Day. I would say it's men and women both who need to have an equal footing to perform. And rewards should be on merit basis.
Sure.
I don't think merely because you're a woman that you need to fight for your rights and ask for preference.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then eventually in years to come, the boat will go lopsided. I think that's not the aim should be. It should be creating a conducive work environment for both men and women to perform in terms of work-life balance, flexible times, hybrid work models that we could give for both genders to perform. Everything should be on merit basis, not gender basis, is my view.
I think a valid point came from both your points of view. It's that entire organization culture that you set in. It's not just because of one person's agenda, etc., but also I think very important that the aspect that the leadership brings in, the quality, the value that the leadership brings in as well. Because I have seen many situations where sometimes you ask your female colleague about the opinion, but then turn back to the male colleague to endorse it, because do you undermine the female colleague? Which shouldn't be the case. Thank you for that, elaboration in terms of gender equality. I have a few more questions, so let's move on. Now, you mentioned about job roles and pay equality, etc. Now, in reality, Vasanthi, some of the job roles, I feel it's gender biased. sometimes. I mean, like, subconsciously, if I am to recruit somebody for a particular role, I'll say, okay, a female might do this role better, or a particular role, let's say trade marketing, or maybe on the field, I will probably say a male might do better. But in my experience during my past employment also, some of the best performing salespeople have also been female and with top-notch performance, and they have progressed on the career very fast as well. So does this biasness set in? Or once it's set in, how do you mitigate that? In your experience, how do you want to approach this question?
Yeah, I think it's very challenging. I totally agree. Certain jobs are gender biased. Example, when you look at secretarial functions, teaching jobs and nursing jobs are kind of female dominant, and engineering, construction kind of ones are male dominant. I think it's over a period of time. It's the cultural, the society influence that has really creeped into these job positions, not the merit-based, competence-based, or the interest that they have. So I think we need to again be very conscious about it, and the approach should be we have a system that we can play around with. I would say role modeling. If we can talk about the successful pilots who are females, with whatever the possible platforms, and if we can talk about successful male nurses who have done wonderful jobs.
To interrupt you there, my father is a male nurse.
Wonderful. See, yeah, that's the influence, and we need to talk about it in the society. That's how we can bring about change, especially with the younger generation. If we can have storytelling approach to say this is not really bad. If you do this job, maybe you can really do wonders in it. So that's something that we can approach. Plus, we need to, give them that. Without giving gender, biasness in the company, we can always give that mindset training, how they can perceive certain positions as male and female. I think if we have a very rigorous and a structured approach, we should be able to come out of it.
I think another point that I would like to maybe to debate also, we as corporate leaders, Vasanthi is involved with the HR community in Sri Lanka, I get involved with the marketing community in Sri Lanka. So I'm sure, Harshanee, you also play a role with regard to the legal fraternity. So when we advocate and when we mentor kids or the younger generation coming in, we can also break these barriers and tell them, look, if you have the will, that you can, take up roles in different areas and, encourage them. On the other side, I have seen, in Indian movies, and India has been a country which was male dominated. Even some of the cultures are still there, subcultures. But even some of the movies showcase the heroism from females, taking up challenging roles, being a pilot to a sports person to etc. Harshanee, what's your, no disrespect, I know your department is also female dominant department, but this stereotyping of certain roles, what's your take on that?
Gamika, Vasanthi nicely explained all I had to say. But if I had to add on to that, gender bias in job roles is a reality. Yeah. It's real. But it's not immutable, you see. When you think of a telephone operator or maybe a nurse, as you just mentioned, then you tend to think that it's a women's work. On the contrary, if it's high-tech engineering jobs, or maybe senior leadership like CFOs, CEOs, or maybe chairperson of a board, you think it's man's field. So this is stereotyping. In order to eliminate stereotyping, then again within organization, I need to go back to my previous response. It's the organization action plan, which I do not want to reiterate right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Because some of the actions could be taken, as I told you before, could be promote flexible working culture to include everyone, and also include women in female-dominated areas, eliminate biases, then neutralize job descriptions. In response to your question about my team, I would say, I don't think, even though some of the jobs are stereotyped, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have equal men and women in a division.
Yeah.
It's all, as Vasanthi mentioned, should be merit-based. You need to consider as an organization what this employee should bring to the table, what sort of value addition can be done, irrespective of the gender.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, it should be for the success of the organization. So there's an eternal conflict between gender equality and balancing with organizational success and value
So
addition.
just to put you on the spot, when you interview somebody, not only for legal but for any other area, does your mind say, okay, I'm looking for a female, I'm looking for a male for this role?
Of course not. This is what I call neutralized job description.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Thank you for that answer. Moving into the next question, I'll probably start with Harshanee. I mean, both of you are my close friends, so I know the lifestyle. You know, your mom with 2 kids, 2 daughters for Harshanee, 2 sons for her, Wasanthi. I mean, you have come through your career to this level. As a wife, a mother of 2, being a successful corporate leader, how did you manage work-life balance? Wasanthi mentioned that in the beginning, but I will probably go into your more personal experience.
Now, it's a very tricky question, Gamika. Playing multiple roles at the same time is extremely challenging. It's a fact of life. And the bitter truth in life is you can't expect perfect harmony every day. There are days you have to work day and night to complete transactions. Then your family is somewhat compromised, family matters. There are days that you need to attend to your family matters, your work is mixed, you need to catch up later on. So I personally think it's a balance of work-life. Not it's a everyday balancing. That again can be done through prioritizing your work at a given time, as well as having a flexible culture and flexible way of handling things. One of my mentors said once, if you are a pilot of a plane, you can't jump out of the plane in the middle of it until you reach the destination.
Correct.
You can't let go any of these institutions.
You can, if you have a parachute.
Parachute, but you are the pilot, so then the plane will get crashed. I mean, what I wanted to say is you need to balance these institutions. But there are ways to balance the institutions as well. One thing is setting boundaries. How you set boundaries? You need to have demarcated timeline where you get yourself removed from work and you start your family life. It's the other way around also. This I advise to my team members also. When you come to office, please leave your family problems outside. And when you go home also, don't take your office problems home. Back home.
Yeah.
So that's where the setting up boundaries comes in. You also need to seek for support system. You cannot do this alone.
Correct.
Probably at work, with colleagues, with your supervisors, you need to have flexible arrangements. Flexible arrangements are encouraged these days in industries. And at home also with your spouses, probably in-laws, you need to be smart enough to balance out things and seek for help when it's needed. Otherwise, you will drain yourself.
Absolutely.
It's not workable in that way. Like for sometimes you need to get your spouse's help to do homework. Whether the child will get marks or not is a different story.
Sure.
But you need to get that help
Yeah.
at the given time. One other critical factor that I think is self-care. While you're balancing out all these institutions, you need to take care of yourself also.
You can't ignore yourself.
You can't ignore yourself. You need to do things that make you happy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you exist to be happy and enjoy life.
Absolutely.
Either you do your manicure, pedicure, or maybe just go for a film, go
Having
for
your
a
me
movie,
time.
having
Yeah.
your me time.
Yeah.
Yes, that's also is encouraged to create a balanced work life.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harshanee. Vasanthi, your take on this work-life balance. You mentioned that at one of the previous answers. From a personal perspective, I mean, like, you not only the HR role that you do, few other roles for the HR community as well. 2 sons and home front, everything. How do you balance all that?
Sometimes, to be honest, I also don't know how I balance. But I am someone who believes there is no work-life balance. It's how you prioritize and give importance to one another. Agree with all what Harshanee was saying. My success would be I have a very structured approach to life. Sometimes maybe it's too structured, I don't know. But yes, I do prioritize as well. And I always seek for help whenever I'm stuck with something. I think asking for help, Gamika, should not be perceived as a weakness.
Right.
It's a strategy, I would say. And the next would be I also have very structured timelines, to-do list that I maintain. I tick the to-do list every morning and I put down what I have to do in the morning, the whole day, and I check how progress what progress
Yes,
I
you
have
have
made in the afternoon, and my boundaries are very solid. If I have to make time for my child's school sports meet or something like that, I do attend, and I sometimes have to miss a meeting in office. Then vice versa, if I have a project going on where I have to miss taking my child to the hospital, getting someone's help to do that. So those are the boundaries that I create, and I come out of the guilt feeling that I have.
Right.
Sometimes you carry that guilt feeling thinking, am I neglecting this? Am I neglecting that? You need to come out of it, and you need to focus on the moment and just be happy of what you're doing at your best. So that's something that I practice a lot. And the other thing, self-care, yes. I do spend a lot of time in my workout, swimming, all that. And quality versus quantity, I think even when I'm spending time with my children, I make sure that I spend that little time quality
time.
without really, ticking a box saying, okay, now I spend some time with my child. Same with work. I cut down all my personal matters when I come to work, and I spend quality time. And I want to ensure that I leave by the particular time, because then I can have the self-care, quality time, all that being handled within the day. So that's a structured approach that I have to, handle all the things that I have to handle on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I think both of you endorse one of the discussions we had in our previous podcast with Ramesh, about work-life balance, whether it's a myth or a reality. He also endorsed saying that it's the priority, it's what's important at that time. And also, I also believe personally, it's not only for the female, but the male as well, if you look at it broadly, how to limit your roles. You play different roles. You're a mom, you're a sister, you're a, corporate leader, etc., etc. So how many roles that you have, and how to prioritize that as well. So very interesting take on that. So moving into the last bit of our conversation, very quickly I would like to pick on your brains. There are a lot of aspiring younger ladies who are watching this podcast. What's your advice, being a career leader, being in this corporate sphere? What is your advice to the up and coming young girls? Wasanthi, we'll start with you.
Of course, I would say you need to own your ambition. Being ambitious is not something criminal. You need to own your ambition. You need to have bold decisions that you make, and you need to go for it. I think females sometimes overthink. So I do that as well. But I think we need to come out of that, make conscious effort to come out of that, and set bold goals and somehow go towards it. Maybe you have few options. If you don't hit one first target, maybe you fall back to the second one. Is something that I could advise. And maybe own your craft. Be good at what you're doing. Learn, train yourself, talk to people, get experts who can support you, who are like-minded people, go-getters around them, around you, and always seek for assistance. One thing is, we always look for the government to do something, or someone, school to do something, or my employer to do something. If you don't have it, just create it yourself, is something that I'm saying. Just don't be disappointed and lag behind and wait. You just create it for yourself and go for it. There are so many fearless women out there, I would say, and I am saying to the younger females, be one of them.
Absolutely. Thank you. Harshanee, what's your take on that, or your advice to the
Yes,
up and coming?
my advice to the aspiring women out there, dream big and work for it. It's okay to have outlandish ideas. When I was small, I wanted to become a lawyer. And I also wanted to become the president of this country.
Fantastic.
But when I grew up, only realized the gravity of it. But it's okay to dream big. And why you want to work for it, there are no shortcuts.
Yeah.
It's all hard work. The only place where success appears before work is, what, Gamika? Only in the dictionary. So that's why you need to
Nice
work
metaphor.
hard.
Yeah.
Yes. And also believe in yourself. For you to believe in yourself, you need to learn. You need to possess all these skills and competencies, and also be resilient. Why you want to be resilient? There are days where you go through breakups, rough patches, people reject you, try to pull you down. Don't put yourself down based on that. Just walk your own journey. Just own it. Go out there, own it. World is out there. Please go and conquer.
So, folks, we are coming into an end of the discussion today. As I mentioned, today's spotlight was brightened up by these two vibrant ladies at the studio. So, I'd like to thank Wasanthi for taking time off your busy schedule and contributing to this topic. Thank you for joining on JXG Spotlight.
Thank you for having me, Gamika.
Harshanee, I know you have a packed day, but thank you for making time for us and, especially enlightening the aspiring women and who are listening to our podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me too, Gamika. It's a pleasure.
Well, folks, that's a wrap. JXC Spotlight always look at topics that we can inspire the society and shed knowledge. So, from today's discussion, I think it's very important for us to give thought about the inclusivity and in terms of society and the systems, how we create an equal opportunity for everybody in the society, and especially coming with in the backdrop of International Women's Day, this becomes a very important topic. And the leadership that all of us can give matters a lot in terms of empowering the next generation leadership coming in. And it's not only the systems, it's not only the boundaries that we create, the culture that we build from the society, that empowerment needs to come in. Janashakti Group, as a corporate citizen, we believe in inclusivity and equality, and we provide our employees and our communities the same equality and inclusivity. So, with that, I would like to wrap up. Until then, stronger together, stronger than ever.